Family home evening.
Bad Mormons.
I'm Mandy.
And I'm Charlotte.
We are not Mormons anymore.
No, turns out we like to drink and fornicate.
Oh, go right to the fornication. Just go right there.
It's what I love the most.
Actually, technically, we are still Mormon. I got dunked in the pool.
I don't have that letter of excommunication. But really doesn't matter. Your heart will always have been baptized Mormon.
You're really bad at being Mormon.
I'm really good at it in an alternate universe.
Welcome to the 89th episode of our podcast.
Hey, welcome. It would have been 90. Sorry we weren't here last week.
Yeah, we kind of fucked that up.
Well, you know what? Things were beyond our control.
We have a lot of B-sides, though. We have a lot of B-sides, and I started listening to them, none of which were appropriate to be aired. We've got some really good stuff with April. We got some really good stuff with Tiffany. We got some really good stuff with you last week, which you probably don't remember at all.
I remember being very drunk, but I remember.
Anyways, don't worry, Internet. We saved you the embarrassment of all of those.
Them the embarrassment or us the embarrassment?
Well, really, it's us, but you know,
right.
It's all about how you spin it.
Oh, good call.
You know?
Sorry, I had to ruin your fill in the blank brigade. I got nothing.
Hey, cheers to my fill in the blank brigade.
Cheers indeed. Cheers.
Wait, you're drinking wine? I thought this was booze time.
Okay. Just give me a minute.
I poured myself a little Kohana Hawaiian rum, which is crafted with delightful cacao, which is locally grown on the island, and honey. And it's made from sugar cane that grows in this field that I got to go tour once with my boss, who drank an entire hydro flask of wine while we were touring the rum distillery.
Hydro flask, nice.
And that's what I'm drinking.
Hornitos. Because that's the way I roll.
Cheers.
Not bad.
It's so yummy. The last time
I just got back from Mexico and I drank so much tequila that was a little rough going down.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's...
Memories.
You probably got better tequila in Mexico.
Sure did.
Gasolina, they call it, right?
The I don't know. I didn't hear that word, but our driver that was driving us back to the airport, I was in a shuttle with two other girls, and the driver didn't talk to us at all, but he was listening to Queen nonstop, and I'm like, this guy fucking rules. And as soon as the girls got dropped off at their terminal, he's like, okay, we're going to go to Terminal 3 for you, right? And I said, sí. And he's like, oh, habla español? And I'm like, no. Poquito.
Did you mean C as in Terminal C or C as in SI?
No, C as in SI.
Okay.
Because he already knew we were going to Terminal 3, and I was like,
Got
C. And he's just like, oh, you speak Spanish? I'm like, no, don't do that. I can swear in Spanish. And then he's just like we were talking, he didn't really speak any English, and I was actually very much impressed with the amount of Spanish that I could understand and could at least converse a little bit back with. But I wish I could remember how to say I speak like a child, but it was mainly like más tequila and muy borracha, and he's like, oh, you like the tequila? He's like, you want a shot of tequila? And I was like, oh no, yeah, okay. And so he busts out this big bottle of tequila that's half gone, because he does this probably for everybody he's dropping off, right? So he'll get bigger tips. I didn't care. He gave me 2 shots of tequila as he was dropping me off to my terminal to go through security, and I was like, thank you, sir.
That's amazing.
His $10 tip became a $20 tip.
Nice. Oh, man, you're just giving me ideas.
Right? So smart.
I'm gonna quit my job, drive for Uber.
Like, más tequila.
Except for the kind of people that you would use that technique on would be the kind of people that would puke in your car. So I don't
puke in anyone, although he did wait until he was dropping
the very end.
And
smart. Very smart.
To be fair, I'm very fun and
gorgeous.
People like me.
It's very attractive.
And I smell good.
Hilarious. I've recently become a lot taller. So I've got that going for me.
Mandy has found her creeper phase has come back.
Listen, it's not a phase, Charlotte. I've always loved it. I just didn't have the money to buy those shoes before. Demonia shoes. I kind of forgot about them. They were really, I wanted them more than anything in the early 90s when they first launched. And now I can afford them. And I I mean, I don't want to like say how many pairs of shoes I bought in the last week while Charlotte was gone.
I've seen at least 3.
There's 5.
Jesus.
But you know what? What else are you going to spend your money on?
Especially
Food?
when you're dead from it.
Rent?
Pay off your credit cards.
Medical bills from when you break your ankle walking in 7-inch platform heel shoes.
Literally, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm like, all you have to do is roll your ankle. You lose your balance one time and you're fucking done.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, hey. Shout out to the patrons.
Hey, patrons. What's up, dudes?
And also, thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you guys. You are the reason we keep coming back every week. Mm-hmm. All of you. Mm-hmm. But the patrons especially, because you guys are the best.
Hell yeah. All right, let's go to Mormon Corner.
All right. What's happening with the Moes?
So, if you're new to the podcast, you may not realize that occasionally we read from a book called The Mormon Trail Cookbook, which was sent to us by a listener. And I just realized, I was going through here going, I think we've done all the recipes in here.
So inside the Mormon Trail Cookbook is Mormon recipes you might find while on the pilgrimage.
Oh, well, hold the phone. There's an index in the back that I didn't realize, and it lays it all out for you, such as it starts with ethnic cooking.
What is that, like Italian?
Well, no, it's actually, if you look through her, it's like, that's just a bunch of white people. It's German, Norwegian, Swedish, Danish, Irish, English, Welsh, and French. That's the ethnic that you have to choose from. Then it goes into preserving and drying.
I like it.
Then straight away into cooking on the trail.
Right.
All the recipes. And then there's Utopia at the end of the trail recipes.
Utopia?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. We never looked at it from this aspect before. And then we've got side dishes, main dishes, desserts, a little of this and that at the end. But I don't know. What do you think? What should I pick from? Should we be on the trail? Should we be preserving before? Utopia?
Thank you.
Okay. Utopia? What about... I'm just going to pick one that sounds like it might be good. Actually, really good.
Chicken a la king.
No. Jail Rock Johnny Cake.
That sounds hot.
Page 81.
Jail Rock Johnny Cake.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how we missed that leafing through here. The sounds of pages turning are tantalizing to your ears. Here we go. Jail Rock Johnny Cake. Page 81 of the Mormon Trail Cookbook.
Jail Rock.
JRJC.
Thank you. JRJC.
Okay, 2 eggs beaten, 2 cups of buttermilk, 2 teaspoons of molasses or honey, 2 cups of cornmeal, 1/2 cup of flour. Interesting. The cornmeal to flour ratio. Mm-hmm. 1 teaspoon of soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of butter. Beat eggs until light. Add buttermilk. Add molasses or honey. Combine dry ingredients and stir into the batter. Add butter. Pour into a buttered pan and bake at 425 for 20 minutes or until done. Cut into large squares. So that's cornbread.
It was like where's the Johnny cakes?
It's cornbread. That's what you get.
Jail Rock corn cakes?
That's what you get for Utopia at the end of your journey. Also, look at this. I don't know if you noticed this either, but at the beginning of the Mormon Trail Cookbook, on one cover page, there's the first half of the trail, and on the last cover page, there's the last half of the trail. So it actually shows you how they go from Iowa over, west through Nebraska, on over through Wyoming, and then end up right here in Zion, Salt Lake City.
Well, when did they go to Las Vegas?
They didn't go to Las Vegas.
The Mormons founded Las Vegas.
That must have been after. They must have branched out. They were like, okay, we've established Zion.
I did not read this anywhere, but I have heard it from multiple sources, is that the Mormons founded Las Vegas and then they got ran out and then had to go to Salt Lake City.
That is nowhere in the Mormon Trail Cookbook. Edition 1976. I just made that up. I don't know. Anyway, the Mormon Trail Cookbook, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of good gems in here. Is that enough for Mormon Corner? I could tell you another thing that I was reading about that I thought was kind of interesting.
You can while I look up the year of the Mormon Trail Cookbook.
I'm sure it's probably right here. Well, it does have this like plasticky spiral thing. You know, I used to always make your own cookbooks. That was
yeah.
another Mormon thing too. You'd make your own cookbooks and have them binded with these big, thick plastic spirals.
1997.
Ew, David.
Ew.
Ew.
That shit ain't right.
I feel like I've been sort of lied to.
Right? Like our whole experience is a fucking lie.
Wow.
Come on, Johnny Cakes. Wait, what? Jail Rock Johnny Cake? What's...
JRJC?
In 1997, that's the best you could come up with? I expect this sort of shit from the 60s. Almost 2000, unacceptable.
Unfucking acceptable. All right. I'm going to save my Kate. I was going to tell you a little bit about Kay's Cross, which, from what I understand, is like the Ogden equivalent of the nunnery.
Okay.
But I'll save that for next Mormon Corner. I tantalized you.
You tantalized me.
Tune in next week.
I don't want to. So, cool shit then, yes?
Yeah, cool shit. I don't know what it is, but this week in particular, this might come off really tone deaf, actually. I was trying to think, like this week, last week, I've been feeling like a renewed sense of, it's a new year. Like, I feel like COVID is really finally, you know, the numbers are getting lower and things are starting to open up and the mask mandates are going away. And it's like, we're starting to finally get back to real life after 2.5 years. And the reason that I say that it's tone deaf now is because everything going on with Russia and Ukraine.
Right.
Like, it's hard to celebrate things when people are getting bombs dropped on them.
Right. It's seriously fucked. It's not one fucking thing. It's another fucking thing.
Yeah. Very conflicting emotions.
But, like, very much for the whole Ukraine thing to end in their favor, Ukraine's favor, and quickly.
Yeah. So I just put this tweet out into the universe from the Bad Mormons account that was fairly, what's the word? Emotional and disturbed. And I was just like, at POTUS, you know, like, why aren't we doing anything? Why aren't we doing anything to help? You know, and I was immediately corrected. So I feel good knowing that at least, you know, we've initially offered like something like $345 million worth of aid, military aid to Ukraine.
Okay.
And then
what does that look like? I mean, do we give them weapons?
I don't know exactly, but I know that there's like a much bigger package that has to go before Congress to be approved. So that's in the works too. So,
you know, and I guess they offered the president, the Ukrainian president, like not aid, but like to get out, like, here, we'll help you get out of Ukraine so that you can blah, blah, blah. He's like, I don't need a ride out of here. Like,
yeah, I don't need a ride out of town. I need fucking bullets.
Right.
Basically. Paraphrasing. Anyway, we'll get into that.
Right.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
That's under fuck this motherfucker.
Yeah, for real. But other than that, I was feeling really great. Like, there's a bunch of concerts coming up. We've started making...
Backstreet Boys.
Are you just seriously just gonna steal my fucking thunder like that? Are you kidding me? That was like my crown jewel of cool shit. No, fine. You take it, Charlotte.
I'm not going to be going to it either.
Yeah, that actually was one of the things. Lots of concerts coming up. We do this, Backstreet Boys happens to be one of them. Sorry, Tiffany, I was going to give you a big shout out and let you know the whole world's behind you. Except Charlotte, because she has clients.
Listen, somebody's got a job. Someone's got to pay for this wine.
This lavish lifestyle that we live. We also do this fun, this thing once a month, this brunch called Breakfast with the Beatles, which is like a local radio show that's happening.
It's a pretty big radio show. It's like all of
Southern California.
Yeah.
Yeah, Southern California local radio show, right?
I guess it's local to Southern California. When I think of local, I think of like...
Oh, like mom and pop.
Or like, you know, Saddleback College has their, you know...
Oh, yeah. No, it's a big radio station.
Right. It's been around forever.
Yeah. And anyway, this guy, Chris Carter, does this Breakfast with the Beatles show that he's been doing for years and years and years. And once a month they do it live. I think we've actually talked about this before.
Maybe. Usually we drink way too much champagne. We try to record a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it never works out.
Right. So last week we were having a great time and we made all these plans and all these vacation plans and like everything's open and Disney World and cruises. And so he's feeling cautiously optimistic about the future. And yeah, that was going to lead me into Backstreet Boys tickets.
Motley Crue tickets.
Motley Crue tickets.
Poison.
Motley
Okay, to be
Crue.
fair, Poison, Def Leppard, Motley Crue, same show.
Mm-hmm. And Joan Jett.
And Joan Jett, which my favorite was I went to a Joan Jett concert at the OC Fair, and me and my friend Molly, Molly, got super shit faced and just kept talking about different Pat Benatar songs we couldn't wait for her to play. And it was like, it's Joan Jett, not Pat Benatar. I'm like, we belong, play We Belong.
That's a great song.
It is a great song, and Pat Benatar rules. Joan Jett's got some good stuff. She's no Pat Benatar.
That's true. That's very true.
Sorry to all Joan Jett fans out there. Throw you under the bus.
You know what else I have listed under cool shit is apparently there's a bunch of Russian soldiers in Ukraine. I'm keeping this part light. But apparently they're using Tinder and some like dating apps to like hook up with chicks in Ukraine in the country they're occupying.
So fucked up.
Isn't it fucked up? Somebody wrote this tweet which just basically summed it up so perfectly. Douglas Chu on Twitter, he says, Russian soldiers trying to match on Tinder with women from the country they're invading and then getting catfished for intel is such a weird, quote, we live in the future moment.
But also it's like, I know I'm gunning down your family, but I'd like to get my dick wet.
Yeah.
So.
And the ladies are like, sure, baby. Right. What are you doing? What kind of gun do you have? Where do you keep it? What's your geographic location? What's your coordinates?
Where would you like to meet? That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
God, people suck.
I thought that was great. And I also thought that there's a couple of other tweets that I felt like belonged in cool shit. And I wish I could credit this guy. I can't remember who tweeted it, but basically people are saying that like the European Union's ban, like if it happens in a timely manner, which is, this is all unfolding in real time. We're doing this on a Saturday night. But the ban on Russia could actually realistically adversely impact Republican fundraising in our country for the midterms, for the election coming up.
Amazing.
Right?
That would be so good.
If everybody just bands together and says, fuck you, Russia, that could actually impede Republican fundraising. Wrap your head around that.
Thanks, Citizens United. Go fuck yourself, George W. Bush.
Wait, to what Citizens United again?
So Citizens United was something that was passed right, I think, was it after 9/11? The Patriot Act was really 9/11. But Citizens United was saying essentially that corporations are people and that corporations should be able to fund political parties. And there shouldn't be a cap on it where there was a cap before. So not only can you give, a candidate unlimited amounts of money, you don't necessarily have to say where it's coming from. And then that's where dark money comes in. And that's where places like Russia is probably funding a huge amount of the GOP. And actually maybe some of the Dems too,
Yeah, probably.
I wouldn't be surprised. Have them on both sides if you can pay them off. So essentially Citizens United might be one of the worst things ever. So that happened during the Bush years. Now, Obama was elected in 2008. It went before the Supreme Court in 2010. And the Supreme Court said that it was constitutional. So it's here to stay. And it's fucked up.
And it turns into shit like this where Russia's basically
buying out our country.
Yeah.
Right. So that's fun.
Yeah.
I wish George Bush would be like, I made a mistake. Then we could all vote to repeal it.
I like your George Bush impression because I can hear him just a little bit in there. Just enough. I made a mistake. Look at my paintings.
I like to paint. What I thought was also cool was I did not know this. I read it just right before we started recording, was that the national flower of Ukraine is the sunflower, which makes a lot of sense with that sweet old lady that went up to the Russian soldiers handing them sunflower seeds and told them to put them in their pocket. So when they die, sunflowers can grow.
That was great. That was so good.
So good.
I think we retweeted that one too.
Good,
if you haven't seen
great.
it, it's totally worth checking out. Yeah. We want the flowers to grow when you die here.
Right. I mean, I have all of the quotes I've been reading from the Ukrainian people, like soldiers, right? Unfortunately, a lot of them right before they die. like fuck you war machine, like fuck you Russia or whatever. It was just that's not even close to what they said. Theirs was way cooler than that, but like there's a lot of like one-liners that are kind of fucking amazing. And it would be more amazing if it wasn't right before they fucking died. But
yeah, I have actually one other thing for cool shit that kind of fits into this same thing that we're talking about. We were talking last week about Elon Musk and the inherent racism in the company of Tesla. I know there's all these speculations that's why Tesla moved out of California over to Texas.
Also, my friend Susan, who listens, friend of the podcast, Susan, she was telling me, she's like, yeah, Elon Musk is South African. Of course, he's a racist piece of shit. And I was like,
Apartheid.
Didn't even think about that.
I didn't either. Interesting.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to give him a shout out, and like a very redeeming thing that he's done this week is people are just tweeting at him like, you know, you're colonizing Mars, you're sending rockets into space, like Russia has dismantled our entire Wi-Fi system. Like, do something, help us. And he immediately within 10 minutes responded to at least one of those people tweeting at him saying like that he put his Starlink service in Ukraine and it's now active and more units are on the way. So basically
Starlink?
It's so from what I understand, it's the fastest and most robust satellite system ever created, and I don't know if it was created by him. I'm assuming it must be because he just has the power to say like, here, you have these units now.
Oh.
But basically he stabilized the infrastructure of the internet in Ukraine because it was disabled. Russia disabled it. And so
that's kind of fucking cool.
It is very fucking cool.
It's also terrifying that he has that kind of ability.
Yes, I was going to get to that. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. But essentially, like if essentially drink.
I think I shall.
If Russia wants to try to like disable Ukraine's what am I trying to say, internet system now, they would have to completely like launch cyber attacks on foreign data centers, which is us.
Right.
Which
they already do.
Who knows? Who knows what kind of access they already have, but yeah, it would become a much bigger deal. So, and imagine how much, you know, we know that we all rely on the internet for everything now,
right?
Versus 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, could you imagine not having the internet right now? Like,
yeah, really think about it. Every fucking thing, even people's fridges,
right?
And you know, microwaves and shit like that use the internet. Your light switches, the
Hoover Dam probably is somehow on the internet now, like being fucking regulated.
So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool, and like, you know, just a nice, you know, thing to do. Somebody, this thread that I'm reading on Twitter, she says, "Ladies and gentlemen, that's my boss," referring to Elon Musk. She says he's probably crazy, but he's also one of the most decent human beings on the planet, and no matter what the press wrote, I never doubted it. So, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. If that's a real person, you know.
It's a Russian bot.
It could be, it very well be. But, you know, people are saying nice things about him, and he really did do an absolute solid for a country that's not only under, like, actual attack, but if, you know, having their internet disrupted on top of that.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, so.
Well, good for
anyway.
you. Maybe I will keep my money in your stock, especially since I've lost most of it. I was thinking about that whole, like, I was just offhandedly saying the Hoover Dam and the internet, and I think we've actually talked about it on the podcast before, but like the cyber attacks by, you know, more than likely Russia, is that I forget exactly what it was, but they were somehow like they upped the levels of poison that could be in water, and if an engineer person didn't catch it, it would have happened, but that was like a cyber attack. And that was to...
Oh, I remember
like,
hearing about that.
Is happening. So it's like, they are infiltrating our servers and things like that, and they're able to do shit like that could potentially fucking kill us all because they drank tap water or, you know, fucking just weird shit, man.
Totally. It is bonkers to me that's my official terminology, bonkers. It is bonkers to me. Like, but for real, we are living in the year 2022, and we have everything we could possibly need to have a utopian planet where everybody has enough to eat, everybody has enough to drink, everybody has enough energy. We are dropping bombs on each other over territories because we have greed and we have envy and we have jealousy.
Right. Well, I mean, that's always kind of the thing, right? Absolute power is absolute corruption kind of thing. And like and I don't know who had said it, but somebody, I guess, who's known Putin for a while just says, I've known Putin for a lot of years and he's not all there right now, like, or he hasn't been there for a while kind of a thing. And like, but it's like, I think he does. I really do feel like he made it so that Trump got elected because of shit like this. He wants to take over. Mm-hmm. And we were saying it earlier was like, I don't know how the neighboring, border countries to Ukraine don't just go in and help them, because Russia's not going to just stop with them. They're going to keep going. So if they take over, Ukraine, you're fucking next. And like over in the United States, that'd be like if Canada was coming over here, mm-hmm. or and maybe that's not a good example. That'd be like if Texas was a country and decided, you know what, I'm just gonna take fucking I don't know what borders Texas, Arizona,
New Mexico.
We're just gonna take New Mexico. Well, fuck you. Over here in California, we're coming. They're gonna come after us next, and so it's just like, would I stop what I was doing, go to Arizona or New Mexico and help fight with them? Probably. I mean, maybe not Arizona.
Kristen Sinema, you ruined it for us.
Arizona gave me COVID and the Bobart chick. I'm just saying.
No, that's Wyoming.
Bobart?
Yeah.
Oh.
Think about it. Old West guns.
Yeah, of course she's a moron. Now, there's somebody in Arizona that sucks, though.
Kristen Sinema. She's the Republican Democrat.
Oh, right.
That's all about corporate. Yeah.
Not Cheney. Who's the other guy? John McCain. He was Arizona, right?
Yes, John McCain.
He ended up being pretty good.
Yeah.
As much as I did not like him, I did not want him to be president, he was a decent person. I mean, think about the time when he was going up against Obama, and then some fucking old hag lady was like, well, I just don't want to vote for him because he's a Muslim. He's like, ma'am, don't say it. He's not a Muslim. He's a friend of mine, actually. He's a decent guy. We're not going to be doing that here. When did that stop being a thing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, we've always been, obviously, the Republicans have been batshit crazy for the last some time.
Right.
And it's real easy to pick on them. But, like, we can't, what am I trying to say? It can't be about the party. It has to be about the people. Like, you have decent people in both parties.
Right.
And you have fucking ridiculously asshole monsters who are in both parties and who shouldn't be in any sort of capacity of public service.
Right. And then you've got some crybaby bitches over on the Dem side. So, you know, we all have our fucking flaws.
Right. Unfortunately, that type of work attracts those type of people because they see the opportunity to manipulate it. Right. So, So
that's why y'all need to run for office.
Well, or something. So I don't know what. Yeah, run for office. Sure. If you got the time. It doesn't pay a lot.
I can't remember if I was too drunk and we didn't use it. Did I tell you how I was going to fix democracy?
Yeah, you did. We didn't use it because you were too drunk, but tell us again.
I was going to say, I vaguely remember talking about it, and it probably wasn't very eloquent.
It was one of the B-sides.
There you go. So the way we're going to fix democracy is those who get elected in can only make the median household income of the district of what they represent, right? So let's say you're the governor of California. You could only make the median household income of, I don't know, all of California? Maybe, sure. But you have to take the richest and the poorest parts. Do you have a child that's school age? They have to go to public school. You cannot trade stocks. You can do like the ETFs, the one where they're kind of automatically distributed for you, but you can't pick individual stocks. And I would say term limits, but honestly, you're term limiting yourself because nobody's going to want to stay into power that long because they're not going to be able to make a shit ton of money. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't do any book deals. You literally cannot make any other money than the salary that you get, which I know is very unpatriotic and un-American. But if you want to be in this office, that's what you have to do. And so, it's going to suck because nobody's going to run for office. But, that's another problem we'll just have to deal with when we get there.
I saw an interesting tweet relevant to what you're saying that was talking about, it was coming from a teacher's perspective and how just like year after year, salaries get lower, budgets get tighter, public schools are getting less and less and less funding, and everybody is just like, this is crazy. The kids need to go to school. Like, why is it that a teacher makes $20,000 a year?
You can make more working at Del Taco.
Absolutely. Yeah, McDonald's makes more money than a teacher. It's like, how is this universe relevant? And then when you think about it from the perspective of, oh, well, if you're trying to privatize schools for profit,
right,
that makes a whole lot of sense why that, and then all of a sudden it's like, bling, all the lights go on. You're like, oh, shit. And then every other single thing that's supposed to be an infrastructure or a societal thing, like prisons,
right,
schools, cafeterias, whatever, food shelters. If that kind of stuff is not happening at the regulated government level and it's just privatized for profit, like people.
Well, the argument is that when you privatize it, you treat it like that's what everybody wanted for the U.S. Oh, Trump will treat the United States like a business, right? What they failed to realize is he was like, I'm a grifter, so I'm just going to take all of the money and fuck you.
Oh my God, every corporation's like that.
But yeah, so I mean, that's what would happen is that they just want to make the money. They don't actually care about the people, and that's why you find innocent children going to prison and judges are getting kickbacks. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that government sucks too. It's not efficient. There's waste everywhere. But the reason why I think there's waste and it's not efficient is because of the corruption within it, because they give all their buddies, the contracts, so they get paid the money, and the longer you can drag it out, the more money you make. Totally. So it's like, how do you fix that problem too? But I'm pretty sure there's a way to do that within my Charlotte Fixes Democracy segment that I will get to later.
Can I add one relevant point to your Charlotte Fixes Democracy segment? Yes. This is just very overarching corporations for dummies. That could be my segment. Okay. Just having been, having some, having some knowledge of how
corporations,
of how a giant corporation, the giantest corporation works. It is ultimately all about how the paperwork looks in any given month or quarter. Like, you could have a project that could cost, let's say, $100,000 to get it done right. And it would be done, and that's a good investment, a solid investment in some sort of, like, your building or your labor or whatever it is. $100,000, right? But the budget, in order to make the shareholders happy, is only $10,000. So you're going to spend $10,000 on something and get a tenth of it done.
Right.
And you're going to spend $1 million on it throughout the whole year.
Right.
Through that year. So you're going to spend 100 times more than what it should have cost you originally, because it has to be separated out into the correct fiscal period or fiscal quarter in order to make your stocks do what you want them to do.
That's fucked up.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how corporations work, and it's all a bunch of fucking bullshit. And it's all smoke and mirrors, and it's wasteful, and it's incredibly frustrating.
I don't understand why. I get to pay out shareholders, but how does that even make sense? Like,
it doesn't.
Do they not have money to just do the shit that needs to get done so that it runs efficiently?
Because if you do it the way that you want it to look on paper in this particular time frame, you get more money.
Oh.
So it doesn't matter that you're wasting $900,000 because you're making $2 million.
Right.
It's fucked up. It's all fucked up.
It's fucking ridiculous.
And that's why 1% of the people have all the money.
Right. Well, then how do we ruin them?
That's a revolt, anarchy. The people have to rise up. Cooperatives.
Right. Well, how long did it take for the Roman Empire to fall? I think we're right about there, it feels like.
Don't look up.
I feel like we're falling into this motherfucker. I feel like I'm already hating everything, so it feels appropriate for us to go there.
You're right. I forgot we didn't even segue into that. I wanted to see if we had any updates on Matt Gaetz. We don't. Any updates on the January 6th committee? We don't. Any updates on Trump? The only updates we have on that situation is that he's taken so much classified information to his residence in Florida that they're not allowed. It's so classified that they're not allowed to describe it in the inventory records for removing it from his house
That's
because
so
it's so
fucked up.
classified.
So ridiculous. God, that fucking guy.
Right?
I feel like, too, like, did you see that thing that Mudbutt Turd Girl was just doing? She was at some Nazi rally.
God, I hate her.
So she was at a straight up Nazi rally, and like they were talking about how like in the crowd was going Putin, Putin, and he was just saying like Russia's doing a really great job right now, and like I mean this is literally
What?
I think from yesterday. And they're like, and our next, speaker is Marjorie Taylor Greene, whatever. So she comes on and she's like, oh, thank you. So now all the press today was like, what the fuck were you doing there? Like, this is, she's like, oh, I didn't know what they're about. I don't know anything about them. I just know it's a very young crowd and it's a very large crowd.
I just show up to anybody who wants me.
Pretty much. That's exactly what she said. And I care about the young people. And it's like, whatever, you fucking Nazi cunt.
Bullshit. Are you serious? How did I miss that?
I don't know. I'll send you I'll retweet.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, I saw it this morning and I had to put my headphones in because Craig was still sleeping. And I was like, I need to know what this bitch is saying.
You know what? I knew I hated her. I knew she sucked. I would joke that she was a Nazi, but in my honest heart of hearts, I didn't think she was an actual Nazi sympathizer.
I did, especially when she was harassing that fucking child who got shot at.
Oh, that's right.
She's a fucking horrible, horrible human being.
Yeah, but that doesn't have to do with racism.
No, it doesn't. But I'm just not surprised she's a fucking Nazi.
No, you're right.
She's the goddamn worst.
Yeah. I'm gonna repent in advance.
Ooh.
I'm sorry. I should have known she was a Nazi.
Duh. Well, we didn't actually cover our repent segment, so you can just do it right now.
I want to be the reporter on the scene at her house, the expose, like throws open her, like Costco she shed, prefabricated shed thing that she has in the backyard of one of her houses, and you throw it open and it's just like full of tiki torches and MAGA hats.
Of course. But she's like, what? It's the uniform of my people.
Oh, go fuck yourself, mudbutt turd girl.
I hate her so much.
All right. So I feel like we kind of already covered everything in this motherfucker all at once because it's all intertwined.
It's all it's cool that fucking Ukraine is standing up for themselves and they're doing well. They're actually, I don't want to say succeeding and I don't want to jinx it, but they're holding their own, and the president of Ukraine, I cannot remember his name, but it's
Zelensky.
Zelensky is a fucking superhero. Like that guy is fucking rad. And that Putin can go suck a dick and go shirtless on his fucking horse. I was reading, it was like, Zelensky is everything that Putin wishes he could be. He's young, attractive, his people love him.
Yeah, he's not the president of Ukraine now, he's the former president, right?
Oh, is he? I'm not sure.
From what I understand, and don't quote me on this, I could be wrong, but from what I understood, he was the former president, and now he's kind of just the face of the movement because he was so well loved by his people. Just a quick...
That could be. When I read former, it was just that he was a former comedian.
Oh. Well, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I was gonna say which I just learned today, apparently he was in, like, a very, like, shticky 80s, like, slapstick sitcom sort of situation where he's, like, a comedian who, is fed up with politics and, he unwittingly finds himself the president of Ukraine. And that was his show in the 80s, and then... life imitates art or whatever.
I did see a couple of his dance moves because apparently he was on like Dancing with the Stars Ukraine version or whatever, and that man can dance.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's everything that Putin wishes he could be.
Totally. You mentioned something earlier that I thought we should bring up too, because So Kyiv is the city in Ukraine that's like
right.
It's a 3 million people live in that city. It's a highly populated, densely populated city. It reminds me of I was gonna say San Francisco, but like any major city, maybe without all the high rises and stuff. But anyways, people are packed in there and there's a lot of people.
Right.
And so it's terrifying to think of a city like that, 3 million people densely packed into a place, and they're dropping bombs on it. Just imagine bombs dropping on San Francisco. Like, that's what I'm thinking of.
That's totally fucked,
right?
Yeah.
And so you were mentioning, because I was like, do you pronounce it Kyiv? Do you pronounce it Kiev?
Right. So the Ukrainian is Kyiv, and it's pronounced Kyiv, so Kyiv. And that is the translation from Ukrainian, right?
Right.
And then Kiev is Russian, and it's pronounced
Kiev.
Kyiv. So Kiev.
Yeah. Which is kind of how it's spelt. So or at least in English, you naturally want to pronounce it Kiev.
Right. And that's Russian. So it's one small way to stand with Ukraine to pronounce it and spell it correctly in the Ukrainian.
So Kyiv.
So Kyiv.
Yeah, so I was glad to learn that today because I had been pronouncing it Kiev phonetic because I just read it, so phonetically it's like, oh, Kiev, that makes sense.
I never learned how to read, so I just looked at it and said, that is a jumble of fucking words, and I'm out.
Yeah, I think we should pronounce it correctly. And I just want to say one more thing, unless you have anything else for this motherfucker. I think it's important to pay attention to the fact, there's two things here. First of all, Russia has amassed a lot of wealth over the past 20, 30, 40, whatever years. And they've been just like a spider web, tendrils, like just reaching into every government and every country in the world, just preparing for this moment, right? I mean, the corruption with Trump and Russia in Manhattan is insane.
And it's painfully obvious.
Yeah, the luxury apartments that cost $200 billion.
Right.
I'm totally exaggerating that. But you know what I mean? It's like that kind of thing. Like you don't have an apartment that's worth that much money. It's just a money laundering front for Russia. And it's the same thing in the UK. It's the same thing in, established nations all over the world. So what's stopping us in this time when they're fucking bombing innocent people? What's stopping all of us as citizens of the world from seizing those assets and being like, hey, fuck you.
Right.
Like, we're not laundering your money anymore.
We're taking all your fucking money and you can all go fuck yourselves.
And I'll tell you what's stopping us from that is just the human element of greed and, oh, how am I going to get my points off of that money?
Right. I want my share.
Yeah. Do we do the right thing or do we take some extra money?
Right.
Yeah.
And most people will take their cut.
Unfortunately, or, I was thinking of a way to say this earlier and I was like, no, don't say this on the podcast. This is stupid.
Say it.
Well, we've kind of mentioned before a couple times, like, was Gattaca right? Like, should we selectively breed traits out of human beings?
Don't say it.
But what if you could breed out jealousy and greed and, like, are those necessary human emotions? I don't know.
Well, I think in some sense they can be to a degree. It's when it takes over kind of a thing. Like, because you have to be somewhat greedy to take care of yourself, right? Like, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to you don't have to be the Joel Osteens of the fucking world and live in your mansions while you're taking poor people's tithing. Like,
right. Yeah. I'm obviously not talking about physical traits, which I think Gattaca was more about.
Right. I want you to have blue eyes.
I don't give a shit about any of that.
I want you to look like Jude Law.
But how could we make it so people like Vladimir Putin don't exist? How do we make it so people like Donald Trump don't exist? Or they exist in a world where their most heinous characteristics, which define their entire personalities and their entire existence, are not there or are muted or are dulled down or I don't know, something.
I did find something out over this weekend that apparently you can, let's say you're doing an artificial insemination, right? And you just really want a boy. I guess it's heavy. The semen's heavier for a boy or something like this. I'm not fucking kidding. And so like in the spinner or whatever falls down or whatever stays inside, however that works, those are generally male semen.
I've heard that too.
And so I'm just like, because the person I was talking to was like, I just want a boy. So it's just I'm going to do it. And I don't even feel bad about it. And I had referenced Gattaca a couple times and he ignored me. And but it's not so bad as that because I was like, I guess you're right. I mean, you want a boy, you get a boy. It shouldn't just be like, well, let's just hope for the best.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, shit, where does that? Because really, where does that end?
That's the whole thing, which that's an entirely other different episode. We'll do Gattaca next week.
Gattaca. Wait, what am I thinking of? It's the fucking that movie. It's the name of the prison. Dog Day Afternoon. What is shit?
Is that one of them old timey movies you and Craig watched from the 40s?
It was from the 70s and it has shit, what's his name in it? He wanted to pay. He was robbing a bank to pay for a sex change. Attica.
Attica. Attica. Let's hear a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back. And we're back.
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back to the podcast you've still chosen to listen to.
Good job, you guys. You make me proud.
I'm going to admit this has been a little bit of drunken rambling because it's an emotional time that needs booze for remediation.
Fact. And I actually feel like we've been fairly coherent.
Yeah?
And...
Am I drunker than you for the first time ever?
Think
Oh,
so.
burn.
I think I sprained my liver. I'm not going to lie. And
Get out the broom and the fire extinguisher and the dustpan because that was a burn, girl.
Christ, I forgot all about that.
You're related to me.
I'm the one who came up with that.
Hey.
Get the suave, get the fire extinguisher, but then get the dustpan and the broom because that was a burn.
And then call the fire department. And hopefully you'll get that hot guy from San Francisco 49
that rescued you from the elevator.
Oh yeah, that wasn't even what I was thinking of, but yes. All right.
Story time.
Story time. We got to let the people go home sometime.
I guess.
Okay.
You are drunk.
I am drunk. How did that happen?
Shots.
Okay, let's get serious. We're recording a podcast here.
People are paying us for this.
I'm going to tell you guys a story. And this is a story that I didn't remember until Charlotte and I had the pleasure of hanging out with our dear friend April a couple months back in Waikiki. And she was like, do you remember the time? And I was like, oh, shit. So I'm going to tell you the time that we went illegal camping for my birthday one year.
Was that the time I was there?
No.
Okay.
No, you weren't here. So let me set the stage. Picture it. It's a
drink.
My birthday's in July, so it's well, Hawaii. It's the same all year long. Anyways, it's 85 in trade winds.
Right.
It's perfect. And one of my favorite things to do is to go out on the booze cruise and like either snorkel or swim with the sharks or see the turtles or whatever and get wasted and be in the water. So that's what I enlisted all of my friends to do that day. We got on the boat. We went out on the Turtle Canyon snorkel cruise. And we pre-gamed a little bit, like you do when you're in your 40s. And so we went out, and technically on this boat, so because you get to go snorkeling, they don't let you drink before you get in the water.
That's fair.
So that's why you have to, bring your own drinks and drink ahead of time. So anyway, did the thing. It was super cool. Actually, I saw a shark on that trip, which was my one of the only times I've ever been snorkeling and seen a shark just in the wild. A big shark, like a 6-foot shark. No.
Like
it was no. It wasn't a great white shark. I don't think there's a lot of great white sharks out in that area.
That'd be really scary.
Tiger sharks are the ones you have to be careful of.
Do they bite you?
Absolutely, they'll kill you. Yes, they'll bite your legs off. They'll bite your arms off.
You don't want to give them a hug?
No. but most sharks
just need a hug and they wouldn't bite you.
Listen, the reason I'm trying to say this is because most people are so afraid of sharks because of Jaws that they don't realize that like 90 I was going to say a percentage. 90% of the sharks, I just made that up.
Yeah. Take a drink from Mandy's fake percentages.
A lot of the percentage of sharks in the water they're not going to hurt you.
Right.
The black reef tips, the hammerheads, the nurse sharks. There's like a ton of different types of sharks, and none of them want anything to do with you.
Right.
There's a very select few that want to bite you and think that you're a seal.
Right. I was going to say, they really want the seal. They don't even want your shitty, not fatty blood. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe my fatty blood, but...
They want to get to your fatty liver. But anyways, so there's this rock formation out a quarter mile off the shore of Waikiki, and they call it Turtle Canyon, and it's because the turtles all go there to get their shells cleaned by the fish that live in that canyon. So it's really good for snorkeling. It's really good. You can see a ton of fish. It's really good for turtle watching. You can always usually see turtles. And then that was the time when I was like, so I was probably, I'm snorkeling, so I'm floating on the top of the water, and I'd say maybe I don't know, 10 feet down or so, there's a big, probably 6-foot shark.
Oh, dang.
Just right below me. But it's like doing its thing. It's like, it's not an
Eat a
aggressive
fish.
shark.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of shark it was, but it was just like hanging out, swimming around. I was like, this is so fucking cool.
That's pretty cool. So how would you know if a shark was going to come eat you then?
I don't know. The only time I've really been, not attacked, but a shark's been aggressive with me was that one time in Florida that we talked about on a previous episode. It circles you and they bump into you and they try to like gauge,
If they can fuck you up.
if they can fuck you up. Exactly.
That's fair.
But, you see people, like I follow a lot of nature Instagram, accounts and stuff like that. And I've seen giant sharks coming up and like trying to just take a bite of a human being with a tank on and getting the teeth caught on the tank. And that's the only way that the guy gets out of there. I wish I would have done a little bit more preparation on sharks.
We can circle back. We don't need to
Okay.
have shark hour.
I'm going to come back
Repent.
to
Next week you're going to repent
sharks.
about
Done.
sharks on how to know which ones want a hug and which ones are going to eat your face off.
If they're swimming at you and they bump up against you,
Probably not a good sign.
not a good sign.
I'm changing my story
Okay.
because I feel this story is more conducive to your story. Remember that time that I told you that we went for our friend Don's 50th birthday out to Puerto Vallarta and rented a hacienda, and it was fucking rad. Mm-hmm. But then there was a Category 5 hurricane coming straight for us, and I was like, I'm gonna die, and I had to like call my friend Kate and tell her where I hid my money and like make sure she'd take care of my cat in case I died. And that ended up, I think it became a hurricane or a Category 3 by the time it hit ground, but it wasn't anywhere near us, and then it just jumped right into Texas, so didn't have to deal with it. Well, so we're all like on edge because of all that. Like, I mean, I was fine. I just drank the whole time, and I'm like, well, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna fucking die. It's fine. But everybody, like there was tension in the air. So after we find, oh no, this was before it happened. Okay, sorry, I take it back. So we didn't know the hurricane was coming yet. So we're in this, this villa kind of hacienda house. We're having a really great time. And then we decide, you know what? For sunset, let's go swimming. Like, I think it'd be really fun. And, it was beautiful. It was a red, purple. It was just perfect. So we bring our boogie, because the hacienda was across the street from the beach. So we grab the boogie boards and we go to the beach. And there's a local kid who's like, hey, Udemy, like, can you help me? And we're like, what do you need? He's like, oh, these turtles, they normally will go into the ocean themselves, but they've been here all day and they need to get into the ocean. And we're like, oh, fuck. Like, because you're not supposed to touch those turtles. They are very much protected. So we're just loading, I swear to God, it was like hundreds of these turtles onto these boogie boards. And like the two of us would like be on each end of the boogie board and just carrying all of the, like it would be like, I want to say at least 25 turtles at a time, and then swimming them out into the ocean. And like, it was like this magical moment of us like connecting with nature and helping these beautiful baby sea turtles with their little fins. And they're like
so cool.
They're like the size of like an egg you would find in the fridge, right? Maybe a little bigger, like one of the jumbo eggs. And we're like, that was fucking rad. High five, everybody. We fucking saved some turtles and we're fucking rad. And like, I even have pictures of the camera's shit, so the pictures are shit, but of us swimming surrounded by all these baby turtles. And again, it was just this magical moment. And then later that night, we find out a fucking hurricane is coming and that there was a reason they weren't going into the fucking ocean. I mean, at least I don't know that for a fact. I'm not a fucking scientist or a zoologist or fucking whatever, but I have to wonder that there's a reason that the turtles weren't going into the ocean like they normally do. Because you see those videos all the time of the turtles going into the ocean, they'll get picked off by birds, so they're not all going to make it, right? But these turtles stayed in their nest, and they just stayed in there, and they weren't going anywhere. And this poor kid was like, I just don't know what to do with these turtles. Like, he was protecting them all day to make sure nobody fucked with them. And
or birds didn't get them.
And he was making sure the birds didn't get him. He's like, oh, I want to get them, and I don't want the birds to get them, but they're not going. So, like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, don't worry, we'll take care of these turtles. And then I hope they all lived, because this big hurricane coming. And again, the hurricane never really hit us anyway, so I'm assuming those turtles were fine. But yeah. So,
I would have done the same thing.
Okay, I mean, come on, especially if a local kid's telling you, hey, help me save these turtles. Fuck you, kid, I'm swimming. Like,
well, that's the thing too, on Maui, you can actually sign up to, there's a whole, I forget the name of the organization and I wish I remembered it, but that's their mission, is like moonlight turtle like runs to the water. So it's like you can camp out on the beach. Normally you're not allowed to camp out on that part of the beach, but you're doing it to make sure that you get the turtles into the...
And so the birds won't get them, or so people won't fuck with them?
Both.
Okay.
And just to save them from predators, mongoose.
Right.
Yeah, and birds. One of our patrons and my good friend and Backstreet Boys lover, Tiffany, got to do that one night on Maui. She said it was really amazing.
That's so fun. Yeah, I was like, I've never experienced anything like that before, and I was just like, this is so great. And then later that night, our friend Sean was like, hey, you guys, I don't want to, like, alarm anybody, but there's, like, a hurricane coming this way. And I was super drunk. I was like, hurricane party, woo! He's like, no, sorry, hurricanes are, like, not cool. I'm like, that's not what I heard. I've heard hurricanes are awesome. And then all of a sudden he's like, okay, it's like a hurricane. It's like a category 3. Like, that's really bad. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
What, is this your first hurricane warning? Oh, hurricane 3.
The funniest thing was I've never been around a hurricane. I heard you guys talk about it in Florida. So, like, what I thought a hurricane was is like the tropical storms. I didn't realize how fucked up hurricanes are. So yeah, especially like first ever recorded category 5 hurricane.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, you called me first before you got all cocky, and you were like, "Hey, should I be worried about this?" And I was like,
I called you the next day. So I was kind of being cocky that night. But then because everybody was freaking out all night long and we kept waiting for this hurricane to come, I was like, I'm calling my sister. She deals with hurricanes all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mandy, I was like, Mandy, you deal with hurricanes? She's like, can you get to the roof? I'm like, yeah. Now, I don't know, what would the roof have to do? Nothing, like, in case the water surges?
Storm surge, yeah.
And it's just like, well, the wind's just going to blow me away. And it's just like, oh, if you can get to the roof, you're fine. I'm like, I could probably figure it out if I had to.
You were fine.
It didn't even get... I literally would walk past a plant, blow on it, and be like, oh no, hurricane. Brian and Monica... I don't think they cared for me very much because I was like, you guys are being fucking paranoid, it's fine, or whatever. And like Lauren had to be like, because you're like, Charlotte, you're being an asshole. Like, I actually don't really remember that so much because I was drunk, but like, it's like Lauren had to be like, you guys, this is how Charlotte's dealing with her stress. This is how you guys are dealing with your stress. We all just need to remain calm. Fucking Lauren, the diplomat, like, she's so great.
She is good.
Is that the right word for that? Diplomat? I don't think that's
so.
right. I'll take it. Anyways, so if you'd like to be a diplomat, you can become a patron for as little as $3.
You commandeered my story. I didn't even tell my story yet.
Oh, you did? No,
I just said we went out on the boat and went snorkeling. I didn't even tell my illegal camping story.
Oh, well, shit, go on, girl. Now we both... I think we were talking about sharks for so long. I didn't know.
You know why we were talking about sharks? Because you kept asking me questions about sharks, and I didn't want to make it a shark podcast.
Fine, go on. Go on.
All right. Long story short, let's just cut to the good shit.
No, tell me all the good stuff.
Well, we were wasted because we did pre-drinking before we got on the boat because they wouldn't let you drink on the boat because you're going snorkeling. So we got pre-drunk, we went drunk snorkeling, then we got back on the boat and then drank more. And then by this point, it's all you can drink booze.
Right.
Out in Waikiki on the booze cruise. And it's me, Tiffany's there, April, Gloria, Terry... I'm missing somebody important.
Right?
I can't remember. No, this was a girls' trip.
I got it.
He's like
girls.
A girl. Anyway, so we get off the boat, and it's a sunset cruise kind of at the end of the, when you're pulling back in, the sun's setting, and it's beautiful in Waikiki. And you've been drinking all day. And so we are shit-faced, and we get off the boat. It's my birthday. And everyone's like, what are we going to do now? We're going to go to the bar. We're going to go to dinner, whatever. And I was like, I want to go camping. And any legit campsites on Oahu, you need to have planned well in advance. Like, you need to, reservations come up at midnight. You have to be on the computer, hitting refresh, that kind of a thing. Otherwise, you're just going to be in, kind of a probably pretty sketchy homeless camp situation. And
in
so,
the CVS parking lot.
Yeah, feral cats are everywhere. You don't know. So my friend Bree, she lives on the west side over in Eva, and she's like, oh, I got a spot. We can go out there. And for anybody who doesn't know the west side of Oahu, there's a lot of really cool secret spots, but it's like locals rule kind of a thing. So you don't want to just like roll up there in your rental car and be like, I'm going to camp here. Like, this is my spot.
No, you go with Terry.
You'll get fucked up. If the locals, they just don't take kindly to like tourists like coming to that side of the island. So just word of warning. Don't take my advice of this illegal camping
go with
story.
Terry. So Terry like, oh no, like the cop, we went to high school together.
I got so many of those Terry stories. So anyways, my friend Bree was living over on the west side in Eva, and she was like, oh, I got a place near Barber's Point. It's totally great camping. Like, nobody will ever fuck with us there. It's perfect. And we're all drunk. And so we like Uber to our respective places. Like, the drivers are sobering up. April drove, Bree drove. I think Tiffany might have drove too, and then she ended up not staying and leaving halfway through the night. Well, yeah, she is smart. So this is what happened. So we get out to our campsite. It's obviously beautiful, white sandy beaches. You're in Hawaii. It's picturesque. It's perfect. And there's all of these, I don't know how to explain it. They're these like thatchets of trees. They're not tall trees, but they're not quite bushes. Okay. But you can kind of like, if you carve out an opening on the outside, there's a lot of big hollow spots inside of these. You know what I'm talking about? And which makes really good spots for people to live on the island. So we found this campsite. We, had a fire pit, and then we found one of these thatchets, like they were all right next to each other. And so we're like, okay, this is our spot. We're claiming our spot. So we put our hammocks up on the inside of the thatchet sort of things, and we're drinking. We've got bottles of Jameson. The stars are out. We've got a fire. It's just like the perfect night. It's so beautiful, and we're shit faced because we've been drinking all day. And I have Dexter with me too. He's a little less blind, and he can hear a little bit better than he can now. And there was a couple points where people started coming into our area, which isn't a specific area because it's not a legal campsite. It's just, you staked your claim. And so people would be going into the bushes just randomly from the beach, and I'd be like, oh my God, all our shit's in there. So I'd run in there and I'd find somebody peeing, kind of close enough to where our hammocks are. Oh, so I'd just go sit on my hammock and be like, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, yeah, fuck off. This is my homeless camp. But so anyway, the night goes on. And another thing about camping in Hawaii too is you have random rainstorms that come through. Yep. And it just starts pouring on you for a few minutes, then it goes away and it's blue skies or starry skies again. It's
back to being 85.
Yeah. And that's just life in Hawaii. But so we get to the point where we're so shit faced, and we've fended off all of the invaders of our makeshift campsite all night long that we're finally just so tired.
People who just wanted to come home.
So April's sleeping in her car, and there's 4 people who have hammocks that are kind of stacked on top of each other in these thatch things which is basically on the side of the road. Right. So you've got the road, you got the thatchet thing with your hammocks and stuff, and then you've got a little bit of beach and then the ocean. So it's all right in a very close proximity little situation. So we get, we're passing out. It's the end of the night. I'm in my hammock. Bree's in her hammock. April's in her car. I think Gloria's in a hammock. And I've got the dog with me. Bree's got her dog with her. And we're all just laying in the trees trying to go to sleep. And all of a sudden, all this Too Fast, Too Furious shit starts happening on the road right next to us. Screeching tires and hooting and hollering and whoop,
hooting and hollering.
Well, okay, we're in Hawaii, so we're gee-hoo! kind of shit. And just screeching brakes and, just wildness, screaming and yelling and glass breaking. And we're all, I poked my head up from my hammock and looked at Brie, and she just looked at me and shaked her head. She was like, nope, lay back down. I was like, okay. And we're just being quiet, and we're trying to just, go unnoticed because you don't know what's happening.
Right.
And then all of a sudden there's sirens and there's cop lights and there's a million cops out there. And we're shit-faced drunk. We're so drunk.
Right.
That we couldn't even interact if we wanted to because we've been out on the beach, and out on the water drinking all day. We're just fuck. So it's just like, and I was like holding my dog to my chest, and I was like, please don't make any noise, Dexter. Please don't make any noise. Just be quiet. Just be quiet. Be a good boy. And I imagine Bree was probably...
Was he still young enough to bark at this point?
Yeah, he was still young enough to bark. And so, like, you know, I kind of like tried to peek my head out and see what's going on. Meanwhile, April's sleeping in her car.
Right.
And her car's on the road where all this shit is happening. But I'm too drunk to even get up to try to check on her. I'm just like, you know, what is it?
Padre
el Hijo, el Espíritu Santo. Anyway, yeah, so we're like, at one point, so you hear people getting put into the cop cars. They're arresting people. Right. I honestly, to this day, have no idea what's going on. I asked April, and she said she didn't dare put her head up. She just kept her head down in the back of her car, like hoping nobody would notice she was in there, which is what we were all doing. But there was one point where the cops, well, somebody, I'm assuming it's the cops, took their bright-ass mag lights and were shining them right at us. And so, like, I'm in my hammock holding Dexter, and the light's right on my face, and I'm keeping my eyes closed, like, just like, you know, when your parents are like, are you sleeping?
Like,
you're
I'm
like,
totally
I'm asleep. Like, please don't talk to me. And the cop lights are going through our whole situation.
Shit.
And they left us alone.
That's good.
Yeah. They could tell that we weren't part of the mayhem or whatever. Right. And all of a sudden, silence. All you could hear was ocean waves and beautiful starry skies, just like it was 20 minutes earlier.
Fucking Hawaii.
Yeah, and that was my birthday.
Speaking of birthdays, it's my friend's Christine's birthday today. She's fucking rad.
Happy birthday, Christine.
Happy birthday, Christine.
Shout out.
I asked her if she wanted to be on our podcast, and she said she would, and I'm really excited about it. Let me tell you why. I'm very excited. So Christine, I know from work. We work with a color company together. She's fucking rad. We cannot be two more opposite people. She is a Trump supporter. She believes in QAnon, and she believes the Earth is flat.
Wait, what?
She's a flat earther.
Shut the fuck up.
It's true, and I like to give her a lot of shit about it because it's easy. Like, I can make fun of QAnon stuff to a degree, but I don't know enough about QAnon to really, like, bring it home. But I do know 8th grade science. So, but I just, again, I don't mean to, like, make fun of her because I actually really, really love her so much. Like, it's crazy how you could, like, be so politically apart and just still like people. Like, so if that's not hope for the future, then I don't know what is.
Let's get her on. Let's change her mind.
Yes.
And let's teach her.
We need to get a Zoom with her so you can show her graphics. But that's the thing, she doesn't believe it unless she sees it herself. Or like our friend was saying, he's like, I have a picture of going over Iceland. She's like, well, if I see that picture, maybe I'll believe it. But I don't just believe anything I see on the internet.
Anyone who's ever flown to Europe can see that the Earth is round. So maybe we just need to take her on a trip to Europe so she can see it for herself.
I'm into it. Let's go.
That'll be the long game, but we'll still get her on. So
it'll still be just
for the hilarity.
It's fun also just to figure out her mindset on why she believes some of the shit that she believes. And when you talk to her, it's not completely. I mean, it is kind of out of left field, but it's you can understand it to a degree, right? And especially if you have respect for the person you're talking to, and you're not just like, you're just a fucking moron. Then you can be like, I see where you're coming from. I don't agree with it, and I wish that I could tell you differently, but I can already tell you because she's very set in her ways. And you know, when we're not talking, then she goes into her QAnon groups and talks to them and gets brainwashed all over again.
If you want to continue to be brainwashed
by us,
why don't you head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review?
You can also become a patron for $3 a month because I'm not taking less than that.
It's $3 or nothing. Check out our website, FHEBadMormons.com.
If you have somebody who's been brainwashed and believes some QAnon nonsense and you have a story to tell us, you can email us at FHEBadMormons@gmail.com.
We're on all the social medias, so check out our LinkedIn, our
Pinterest,
our Facebook, Twitter,
MySpace.
And we're always looking for likes and subscribes on our YouTube, so please check it out if you haven't already. And lastly, get your official merch. We've got a lot of cool stuff up on our TeePublic site, which is on our link tree, which is in all our social medias.
Thank you, friends.
Thanks for listening. We love you so much.
Be excellent to each other. Don't believe in QAnon.
And catfish Russian soldiers.
Yeah.